Let's discuss an airline pilot career. First off, how do you become an airline pilot? Well, we're going to talk about the civilian route. So each route to become a pilot is quite a bit different, but they all follow generally the same path. First off, you have to become a private pilot, get your instrument rating, become a commercial pilot, build up flight time and experience, get your airline pilot certificate, and then work your way up the food chain. Well, big thing here is remember that the airline transport pilot certificate and commercial pilot certificate are much different. To become an airline pilot, you need the airline transport pilot certificate. So what are the career requirements? Well, as we mentioned before, you need that airline transport pilot certificate. Most airlines require you to have a bachelor's degree, so that's a big thing as well. You also need flight time of at least 1,500 hours, and that seems like a lot, but we'll get to ways you can cut down costs to get there. And there's a few circumstances where you can get on with less. You also have to be of good moral character, which I think is kind of funny. That's a hard thing to judge. You also need to read, speak, and understand English, and you have to meet medical requirements. This is generally good vision, and you can have glasses to correct your vision as well. And you generally can't have any terminal illnesses such as epilepsy or diabetes. So, how do you build up all that flight time? Well, there's several ways you can do this. You can become a flight instructor, which I do not recommend if you do not like to teach. If you do, then by all means do it. But you're hurting the aviation community if you hate your job. So I would take the other routes if that one is not for you. The other ways, you could work as a commercial pilot once you get your commercial pilot certificate. This is things like crop dusting, aerial photography, pipeline patrol, and quite a few other things. Another way is to pay your way through it. I do not recommend this. And the final way, that is a common way, is to work as a corporate pilot, such as places like Boutique Air, any other Part 135 operation as a second in command. A lot of places will hire at about 500 hours, so that's a good way to get started. So what about the degree? What kind of degree is required? So most airlines require a bachelor's degree, and this degree can generally be in anything, but it helps if it is aviation related. It may be more affordable to get a degree at a college which accepts flight training as credit. This cuts down on cost and reduces time to become an airline. So how long does it take to become an airline pilot? It actually takes quite a while, but it's not too bad. It's really not too bad if you think about it. Becoming a commercial pilot generally takes 1 to 4 years. Most people take around 2 to 3, and then you have to build up your flight time. That takes about 1.5 to 2 years. Once you get there, you can start at a regional airline and then work your way up the airline food chain. As for college, this can be done on the side, so we didn't really consider it, especially since you can do it as you work at a regional jet while you're trying to build up more experience to get on with the major airlines. So in general, it takes about 3 to 6 years to get to the airline pilot level. So how much does it cost? Well, it is expensive. It is very expensive. But if you can find a way to pay for it, it's quite a great job. Quite a few great jobs out there. So first off, to become a private pilot to commercial pilot, about $35,000 to $70,000. Most places are about $65,000 or $60,000 all the way up. My school does about $30,000 to $35,000. As for additional training, which is most likely going to be needed, at least for an instructor or a multi-engine add-on, will cost about $5,000 to an additional $20,000, depending on how many extra additional ratings you get. Then time building. Generally, once you become a commercial pilot or a flight instructor, you stop paying to fly and you start getting paid to fly. So that being said, you can spend $0 on time building, but you could also spend a lot of money if you wanted to pay for your time building. As for college, it's just regular college expenses, and that's anywhere between $25,000 and $150,000. So to become an airline pilot, it's going to cost anywhere between $65,000 and $300,000. And the most common spot's probably somewhere around $80,000 or $100,000 if you're trying to take an affordable route. So what is the job actually like? Is it something that you might enjoy? So I interviewed 2 airline captains. I interviewed Victor and Kevin. Victor is an Airbus captain for JetBlue Airways. He's been flying for 32 years. And Kevin is a Boeing 737 captain for American Airlines. He's been flying for 39 years. So after speaking to both of them, I found out what a normal airliner's trip is like. So first off, they arrive about 1 hour before. And they're not getting paid during this. They only get paid when the break is released. So they arrive about 1 hour before their flight, and then they go over their flight plan information. They go over documents, weather, crew list, passenger list. They also brief the crew, and they said it's really hard to brief flight attendants who are millennials. They said they have a hard time communicating. They like to do their own thing, so they have to assert their authority when with that. I thought it was kind of funny that they mentioned that. They also said that they pre-flight the aircraft, just like in general aviation, how an aircraft is pre-flighted. They also set up the aircraft before the flight, such as the flight computer, and then they have a normal flight, which they normally use the autopilot for the majority of the flight. Then they do system checks throughout the flight, of course, and afterwards they shut down and do post-flight only if there's no one flying immediately after. So is the pay as great as everyone thinks? Well, both people I interviewed said it is great, it is good pay, but they do have to definitely work for it. They say it starts when the parking brake is released, so you don't get paid to sit around the airport. And one captain discussed his exact pay. They said they make $264 an hour, and they're guaranteed 5 hours of pay a day as long as they fly that day. And they get about $375,000 a year. So it's quite good, quite good. So what are the perks? Well, aside from the pay, there's quite a few other perks. They meet amazing people, family and themselves can travel for free, get discounts at hotels, and you can take quite a lot of time off. One guy said that they get 3 weeks paid vacation off. They can take several months for leave at a time, and they can also work around their schedule to get about 15 days off each month. So what are the downsides? Well, with any job, there's also downsides. So they're almost always away from home, about 2 to 7 days at a time. Seniority is everything for time off and for pay. And they must start in reserves. So Victor spent about 4 years in reserves at JetBlue, and that's where they just sit around the airport. And it is a very stressful job, and things can go wrong really quickly. And another thing is they also have their schedules change consistently. So who should be an airline pilot? Well, if you're someone who has good problem-solving skills, observation skills, and communication skills, then it's probably something for you. You also need to have a good depth perception, vision, and reaction time. If you can find a way to afford flight training, love to learn to fly, and loves to travel, and is fine with being away from home on a regular basis, and you can also handle the intense stress, then it's probably something for you.